Hello everyone, this is a quick Boon Chrono guide. We'll start with what your job is as a Boon Chrono. So I'll whip out this, I don't know, picture real quick. So you'll always have to give quickness, and then you'll always have to extend boons. I'll tell you what that means in a bit. And then based on your comp, if you have an alacrity, then you don't have to give alacrity. But otherwise you should give quickness, alacrity, and extend boons. Uh, okay. First, to give boons, you need to have boon duration, and if you go over to your equipment and then check your concentration, this is what affects boon duration. So the more concentration you have, the more boon duration you have. And an easy way to check what stats give boon duration is by taking something that's stat selectable. I have a legendary here. I go to customize, write concentration there. You can see a bunch of weapon stats, but what's important is again the concentration. So the higher of this, that means it's easier to give and keep up wounds. Um, this probably hard to check everything out, but I can just whip out a chart and I'll explain which ones give the highest boon duration. So you have diviner that gives the highest, and then givers, harriers, and then minstrels and commanders. But generally, you want to stick to the three tiers there and avoid the others because those stats aren't always very useful. So just avoid those. For this guide, I'm going to stick to full minstrels because you can see it gives you vitality, healing power, toughness, as well as concentration. So you'll be very tanky and will not have difficulties tanking. So and self-sustaining. So you don't need a healer to keep you alive. Um, for your rune choices, for now I'll just show you the gear. I'm full minstrels at the moment. My weapons are minstrels, not this, but everything else is full minstrel, and you have around 42% boon duration. Now, I still haven't used runes, just to show you the choices. You have durability, water runes, pack runes, leadership. So you'll use durability when you want to be very tanky, but this is almost never needed. And then you'll use water runes because it's fairly easy to get from the trading post and has flat 25% boon duration if you get 6 of them. Backgrounds is your best choice because it deals with Fury. It gives 15% boon duration and gives Fury in case you don't have a druid in your subgroup. This is very nice to have. And then Leadership is the highest boon duration gear in rune in the game. It gives 27.4%. So I'd recommend going for backgrounds. So I'll just put that on there, and that's going to give us 15% more to 42. Okay. Now 57.2, we can increase it further by using sigils. So I have here paralyzation and concentration, but I'll just put a concentration sigil on my minstrel sword. That's going to bring us to 67.2%. Now you don't need to go 100%, but it is better to go as high as possible because there is a chance you're trying to give bones your teammate downstates or goes away from your skills, and he's not going to have reliable bones anymore. But if you're overflowing with boon duration, you'll keep up boons on everyone even if they do some mistakes. So it's always recommended to have very high boon duration and then gradually go down as your team gets better and as you get more experience. Okay, so right now we have our sigil set, one sigil, and then all our runes set. On top of this, we can use these two food. They're very cheap, but you can go for anything with 100 concentration, and then peppermint is like probably your best in slot. Use these two, and then that's gonna boost you to 80%. And then we'll get remaining 20% from the trait line, which I'll explain in a second. Before that, I'll go over a bit of basic mesmer or chrono. So with chrono, you have access to shatters, clones, phantasms. How phantasms work are, before you know about shatters, your shatters are some extra skills that get um, a buff based on how much clones you have up. So these three dots here, they are your um, they are your available clones at the moment. So if you use a clone skill like SWO3 here, that's one dot, instant clone. if you use a phantasm, it does its attack and then turns into a clone. So I'm going to use a phantasm. It's going to do his attack first, and then it'll turn into a clone. Watch the dot. Okay, this turned into a clone now. That's 2. And then if I use this is a phantasm skill, sword 5. It does its attack and then turns into a clone. I have 3 clones up, you can see them. Now what happens, this buffs my shatter. So if you can read things here, like without clone it does low damage, with 1 clone extra, 2 clones even more, 3 clones even more. Now if I press F1, they go shatter and they die. That's like basics of Mesmer. So the shatters itself, how they work is F1 is power shatter, so it does a lot of power damage. F2 does a lot of condi damage. F3 does CC. F4 is invulnerability. So you press F4, you don't take damage for a second. So that's how the shatters work. Again, power, condi, CC, and then invulnerability. And again, phantasms, clones. Clones are instant. Phantasms do their attack first and then turn into a clone. So this swordsman will do its attack and then turn into a clone. So keep that in mind. Right, with your weapon choices, you have sword, shield, and focus. To use shield, you actually need to be a chrono. So put on the chrono trait and we'll fix these later. The advantage with sword main hand is that you get instant clone from sword 3 and evade on sword 2 and then auto attack chain, the one I've pinged here. The third one, boon strips. So that's the advantage. You get a boon strip, evade, and extra, instant clone. And then with focus you get a pull. So you put this down, close it, and then it pulls adds around it, which is very nice. And then with shield you get additional block, boons, and a phantasm. So this gives boons and also CCs your shield 5. That's the advantage. So you always want to play this setup: a sword main hand, focus off hand, shield off hand. This will work on every boss, but you can also have additionally a staff and a sword offhand. Sword offhand gives you extra block and CC. Staff will give you extra clones, which will help with the build we'll talk about later. Fine. Next is the skills itself. We'll be playing something like this. Heal, you have multiple options, but the advantage with this heal is that you'll give Aegis when you use it, but it's on the traits, but I'll explain in a second. So we'll stick with this heal. We'll stick with quickness well. So you put down this, it gives quickness. And we take alacrity well, I stand on it. And put down alacrity well, it's going to give me alacrity when I stand on it. And then if I press signet, it extends everything on me. Those are these skills are a must to have if you're playing a chrono that gives permanent alacrity and quickness to 5 people. And then the elite is up to you. For now, we'll stick with time warp, assuming you just want to focus on boons at the moment. Next to the trait line, we go to chronomancer because that's important. We pick the first trait based on what build we have. The first one, you will take this trait if you have power chronos, because they need slow on the boss to help them out to increase their damage. But we don't care about that right now. Or this, it just gives you more damage. We can take this instead, because you're minstrel, you have more healing power. So when you put these wells down, the quickness or alacrity well, it'll heal when they end. So it's nice to have this. This is important to keep in mind. So if you shatter, you're gonna give yourself alacrity. Something I didn't mention is the first trait. All it's saying, it gives you access to shield. And then remember the invulnerability shatter, it turned into a continuum split. So what continuum split is, this is still a shatter, and then what it does is if you put down skills inside your continuum split, so I open this and then I have a few seconds to do my skills and I get them back. And the duration on this increases the more clones I have. So I'm gonna spawn a clone. I'm gonna spawn more clones. So wait for 3 clones or okay. Once I have 3 clones, it's a 6-second continuum split, or we can call it CS. I open it by pressing F4. I put down some skills inside. So look, I'm using these. I'm gonna use some shatters. And I get all of them back. That's the cool thing about CS, continuum split. So that's what happened with the first trait. You got access to shield. the weapon, and then you got access to your F4. It changed now as to continuum split. You can put skills under it. Now back to this trait. You got alacrity when you shatter, but this is self alacrity, so I have an ally here. I go close to him, I press F1. The alacrity is only on me and not on him. And then your third trait, this is like a no-brainer. You always take improved alacrity. This means the alacrity on you is stronger, but less. But as you keep shattering, you get more alacrity, so you can easily keep up alacrity anyway. Not a big deal. So always play this. Uh, this one doesn't matter. The last trait does matter. You should play seize the moment. What this does is every time you use a shatter, it's going to give quickness to allies around you. So right now you have one source for quickness, another source for quickness, and then this as your last source. So all these shatters, they're going to give quickness, and it'll be more quickness if you have more clones up. So right now if I go next to him, I press F1 shatter, he gets quickness. I press F2, gets more quickness. F3, even more quickness. Um, but if I have clones, it'll be higher, but I'll show that to you in a second. So that's the chrono trait line. Now the next important trait line is inspiration. The first trait doesn't matter, it's a cleanse. The second one is not so important either. You can take the straight line. The first one is it helps you with revive, but you don't have to. And then the second one only is useful if you play mantra heal, which we will not be playing, so you stick to this. This trait is important, but I'll explain to you in a sec. This one you always want to play the straight line, because what it does is if you shatter, it'll cleanse you and then heal you up. So this is what clubs with minstrel pretty well. So you have a lot of healing power. So if you're under pressure, you just spam a shatter with clones and you heal yourself easily and cleanse yourself. You can also play this, but situational. This thing is not so important. This trait is very important. Right, so your wells here are 5 man. So I give these wells down. It only gives quickness and alacrity to 5 people. But then with this trait, this skill is supposed to be 5. So if I switch the trait, you can see the number of targets, that's 5. When I click this, it's 10. Wait, I'm lagging. Okay, it gives 10 now. So you can buff your whole squad using this. So this skill, it extends boons on your ally. So if you have 10 people and then they have a bunch of boons on them, every boon on them gets extended by 3 seconds. So always nice to have. And this trait is what makes it then targets. You always need this. Additionally, it also gives access to distort. So distort is invulnerability. So if I press signet, I'm gonna get distort. Watch this. And then if I press heal signet, it gives distort. So what this does, both my signets are better, and then it also gives distort. And with this trait, which I didn't explain earlier, every time you distort yourself, you give Aegis to your allies. So I go next to my friend and then I press my signet, it distorts me and then it gives Aegis to him. So that's how you're gonna give Aegis to your allies, by using your signets. So this is like a fixed build. You will not be changing these two traits, at least for now, until you learn more about Chrono. The third trait, you can choose either Chaos or Illusions, but Chaos is much better. The first trait, you can always take this. It can be harmful on one boss, but we'll make boss specific guides, so I'll cover those over there. For now, this is nice because what it does is when you heal, it puts down a field that gives boons to you. So give random boons. So give swiftness, retail, and Aegis. So it's nice to have this. Every time you heal, it does it, but it has an internal cooldown. And then the second one you can play this, it doesn't really matter. This one doesn't matter. This one does matter. Remember our build was 80% boon duration. So to make this 100%, you want the straight line. So if you have more boons on you, so if you're playing Chaos Chrono, you will have a lot of boons. You'll always have 8 to 10 boons on you. That means each boon gets buffed. Each boon gives you 2% outgoing boon duration. So if you have like 8 to 10, that's 16 to 20% extra boon duration outgoing. So your allies will get 100% boon duration quickness and alacrity from you. So it's very nice to have chaos straight line because of this. And then the last trait, you always want to play this, but this is harmful on one boss. Stability can be harmful on one boss. Again, that's specific, and I will explain it when we do boss guides. Right? So the advantage with this is you get a boon every time you shatter, one additional boon. So F1 gives you might, F2 gives you vigor. So your shatters right now, it gives you alacrity, quickness, might, and stability. The stab and all the boons from this are self. You don't give it to your allies, only yourself. But the stability can be very, very helpful. If you have a knockdown coming, you just shatter and then you're safe. Right? Those are your basic traits. Now there's another trait line you could play. It's illusions. The advantage with illusions are these two traits. The others don't matter, but this trait and this trait is good because with seize the moment, every time you shatter, you give more quickness, and then with these two traits, this one gives you an extra shatter on F1, and then this gives you reduced shatter cooldowns. So you'll be shattering more, which means you'll get more quickness. But generally, you want to play chaos. Something like this is what you will be playing most of the time. Now utilities. Actually, before utilities, we can go over a basic rotation. Um, yeah, the boon rotation itself, it's fairly easy. If you have very high boon duration, that means you could sort of AFK and just spam these four skills out of cooldown. This gives alacrity, quickness, alacrity, extends boons. So I'm just gonna do that. He has quickness now. He has alacrity, and I can press my signet to extend things on him. Look at the quickness and alacrity. It's gonna run out soon, and right as it runs out, I'm gonna get my wells back. But this is still not 100%. So to guarantee 100%, we can use an opener. That's when continuum split comes in handy. If you remember, you can stuff skills inside your CS. So what we could do is spam the boon skills multiple times or twice at the start, and that'll guarantee him permanent boons. So the best way to do this is by using one clone. So if you do a one clone opener, you can instantly start giving boons, and your DPS people are happy. They can start their rotation without delaying or with quickness. So look at your shield. It has a cast time. We're gonna use this to our advantage. You see that yellow bar? That's what we need. So inside our CS, our continuum split, we need to use 4 skills with one clone. So you put one clone down. I refresh my skills. I'm gonna do my shield 5, a time warp, because it gives quickness, and a alacrity well, and a signet. So I start my shield 5, press F4, time warp, alacrity well, and then signet. Wait, let me do that again. Okay. If you do it fast enough, fairly simple. Just press your buttons on order. This can't go wrong. So always shield 5. You shield 5 first and then F4 right after, so the cast counts something like this. So it's good enough to give permanent alacrity quickness. After this, you get your skills back and just spam it out of cooldown. It's fairly simple. Now look, our boy is very happy. 30 seconds of quickness, alacrity. But that's the build basically. You just get an opener in, and then you can just spam your boon skills out of cooldown. And when you have nothing else, then since you're not going to do damage, you don't have a specific rotation. So you could focus on mechanics. So if the boss is going to slam, you can Aegis and help your teammate. You can pull ads using focus 4, and then look at your cooldowns. It's back. Maybe use some to give boons to your team. Now this is just basic skills. Now you also have seize the moment. With seize the moment, you can shatter to give quickness. So I have a clone up. I shatter. Yes, quickness. I just keep doing this in case you feel the quickness is not enough. So the build is very overkill in terms of quickness. Alacrity is still not overkill, it's sort of tight. Um, right. This is when you have to give alacrity and quickness. Now there's a scenario you have an alacrity renegade in the squad. What alacrity rens do are they keep up permanent alacrity for the whole squad. That means you don't need this anymore. So this gives you more utility. So you have a bunch of other options. You could take well off precog. It'll give extra pulsing Aegis. So right now I got Aegis. It works on you, your teammates, everyone. The other option would be taking Mimic. If you play Mimic, your next skill um, can be used twice. Your utility, next utility, something in these three. It will not work on your CS. So if I mimic my CS, it will not work. So if I F4 and then mimic Signet, my mimic did not come back. So do not use this inside continuum slit. It's pointless. But what you could do instead is you can use your Signet twice because it's going to extend boons twice instead of 3 seconds, 6 seconds for the whole squad. So I mimic Signet. My Signet is back. I use it again. Good stuff. You can also play Portal, again very situational. If you've done Wing 3 Escort, you need the Portal. Um, there's a way to double Portal with Mimic, or you can even triple, but that's complicated for now. Double Portal is fairly simple. Portal is a two-step skill. So you put down the portal, and before you open your portal, you need to mimic. So if I mimic portal now, a portal gets opened up, and I get portal again. But if you cast this portal, the previous one gets deleted. So I cast this, and I have another portal. So you can double portal like this if ever needed. It'll be helpful on escort. And then you could also play mirror images because seize the moment gives you access to more clones. If you have more clones, more quickness. So I press this, I have 3 clones already. And then I shatter 12 seconds, sorry, yeah, that's 11 seconds of quickness, and then we get out of combat. But you have options to switch out your alacrity well in case you have an alacrity renegade. Again, this doesn't always happen. Check your squad. If you have alacran, then don't take alacrity well, you can just take anything else. But if you don't have it, you have to give alacrity. Don't skip out on this. Yeah, this is your general build. It'll work everywhere. If you have Alacran, then you can still use this. But if you feel like you need some alacrity, switch it out. Um, this is always a good option if you have alacrity renegade, because you'll just keep using your signet on. So you keep using your mimic on signet and keep up other boons for the squad. If prediction, fury, everything gets extended. Okay. Your elite options, you can always play time warp if you need the extra boons. So this will just keep giving 10-man quickness, but always use it inside your CS because it has 180-second cooldown. There's no point using it outside compared to your CS, which is 105. So always use this inside it. But if this is overkill because you have a lot of quickness, and if your team lacks CC, you could take these two. Moa is instant CC, Gravel is a bit delayed, but it's on lower cooldown. So depending on the boss, you could switch out. You can take either Gravel if you want but slower CC. And if you want an instant CC, you can play Moa. But you should be fine with Time Warp Polos everywhere. If you struggle with CC, then switch out for Gravel or Moa, depending on how fast you need the CC. This Moa if you need very quick CC, Gravel if you want it more often and not instantly, right? Next we'll look at some of your role as a chrono other than just giving boons. First is you'll have to CC often. To have stronger CC, we're going to take Paralyzation Sigil. So we had Concentration on our main hand sword. Your offhand has nothing so far, so we're going to put Para Sigil. It affects your stun and daze duration, although it's not written there. So your F3 is a daze, it affects it. This mantra is a daze, but if you have the option to take it, go for it. Otherwise, just stick to something normal. If you want a very good CC, then take your elite Gravel and then spawn 3 clones. Let's say you know a CC is coming up. I'm gonna prepare myself with 3 clones. So I'm waiting. And then your CC skills are shield 5, F3, and then your elite. So I'm gonna shield 5, F3, and then put my elite skill. That should do a lot of CC. So those are your CC options. You could also do weaker CC with your pull, or you can even spam this twice, because you press 4 3 once and the second time it immobs. That's also soft CC and it counts. You have options with CCs, but generally that's what you should be CCing with your F3, your shield 5, and your elite. And if you don't need the focus, go for sword. with sword you have access to a daze, sword offhand. Um, your second, you could click it twice and then you get access to a daze. So that's some extra CC if you need, but generally you'll want to use the focus, so don't switch out. Fine. Next mechanic you'll be doing is invulnerability plus Aegis. So as we talked before, these two signets give invulnerability because of your trait line, and then that invulnerability gives Aegis to allies. So if you need to invuln yourself, you can either F4 or you press your signets. This gives you invuln. It means you can't take any damage during this. Or you can give Aegis using it. So right now he has Aegis. So every time I signet, he's gonna get more. It gets extended. Some Aegis. Let it run out. I heal again. Some more Aegis. Uh, right. The next mechanic you can see is there's another source of Aegis in case you missed out earlier. Wait, let me get out of combat. Right. So that's one way to give Aegis. The other way to give Aegis is by using well of precog. So just pop it here, and then it's gonna give him Aegis. It pulses 3 times, so kinda reliable. Okay, next is to block. You can use your shield 4. So if you're getting hit, you can use this twice, but right now I'm not getting hit, so it just goes away. And then if I signet, I get all my phantasm skills back. So I signet, and then I can block again. Good stuff. Next is to pull. You can just focus 4. Pull if there are ads around. Don't worry about the specifics. We will do boss specific guides. I'll cover these. And then your boon strip. You have your main hand weapon sword, and then your third hit always boon strips. So 1, 2, and the third hit, if you can see, it strips boons. Now this also affects your clones. So your clones are based on what main hand weapon you're using. So right now I'm on sword main hand, so all of these clones will turn into a sword clone, if you noticed, and they will do your auto attack chain. That means they'll keep boon stripping. It's very strong to have the extra boon strip. We could also take a disenchanter, which I'll show you in a second. Wait, okay. So you have the option to have disenchanter. So disenchanter, it can be helpful on Doom when he strips all your boons. You can pop it once, that rips 5 boons, and then you heal yourself. It'll give your phantasm skill back because this is a phantasm. So that's like 10 boons gone. That's a boon strip option. And then for stability, you can play the mantra. I didn't get out of combat. Generally, it's the firebrand's job to give stability, but if you don't have one, you can always just take this. But remember, it only affects 5 people, so it doesn't affect the whole squad. I just give stab to 5. But generally, just read your skills. You can see the number of targets, and that should cover all the mechanics you can do as a chrono or help the squad with, other than just giving boons. As you get more and more experience, you can go for more greedy builds. You can play more berserkers and diviner combination, because you need only around 20% to keep up permanent quickness. I think right around 50 to 60% to keep quickness and alacrity permanently. Um, but the advantage with this build is you can easily keep up boons, and it works on everyone, even on a bad squad. Even if they run around, you can, if they miss your wells, for instance, this guy is gonna miss my wells. He walks out of it. Now look, he doesn't get alacrity, but I can hunt him down and then give him quickness anyway. That's good stuff. So it works on all squads, and I'm assuming you'll be playing with newer people at the moment if you're watching this guide. So it'll help out newer players, and you can keep up wounds on them, which means more damage. And once your team gets more and more experience, or if you're playing with better players that will stack all the time, then you're okay with playing lower boon duration gear such as berserkers with diviner. Um, but in general, this build should be good enough to kill all bosses with all squads as well, because there is no boss in Guild Wars 2 at the moment where the chrono has to do damage to actually clear it. It helps out obviously, but then You're better off guaranteeing boons than some damage. Okay. The last thing I wanna add is your build option. Now you can't. Not all new raiders can afford minstrels. It doesn't have to be exotic. Sorry, ascended. You can go for exotic stuff. But if you can't, if you struggle to get minstrel stat at all, then you can just go to the trading post and then type givers. This works. Just type givers and then go to level 80, filter it out. And then for your weapons, you need to get a sword, focus, shield. You can get the candy cane versions because they have concentration sigil already. So go for a candy cane sword and then any focus shield and put paralyzing sigil on it. Um, and if you're too broke at the moment, you don't have to go for exotic armor. So these 6 pieces, you can go for rare, and honestly, it doesn't matter. Like with cures, the only thing you don't have is the extra vitality from minstrels. You have some extra vitality, but this will only affect you on 1 or 2 bosses actually. That's it. You'll only struggle on 2 bosses tanking without the extra vitality. So givers is a better option in terms of concentration. You'll have more boon duration, as you can see. The rare has more concentration than my ascended minstrels. So no big deal. You can go for this, and it'll cost you around 50 gold to get this set. So you're gonna go for rare givers gear and then exotic weapons. Make sure you have concentration sigil because it's very good, and then have paralyzation sigils on your offhand weapons for the extra CC. And then for your trinkets, they're not called givers. You need to look for snowflake. If you type snowflake, you'll find all the givers trinkets. So you're gonna get and they're not unique, so you can get multiple of them, no big deal. So you can get 2 rings, 2 earrings, and 1 amulet. You will not get a backpack with snowflake, so you'll have to spend a bit. Backpack, you can either spend a little, it's a bit little extra. You need to get one of these with around 9 gold. Either that, but you have enough concentration with the remaining gear, so you don't have to spend a lot on the backpack if you don't have the gold. But if you can, just go for this. Any of these exotic ones, it has givers on them. Select them, use it, and you can also put the snowflake upgrade on it. So you type snowflake and then go to level 80 and then just put this upgrade on it. I'll give you the extra concentration and you should be more than set. But if you can, try to go for full exotics. It'll cost you around 70 to 80 gold, but if you go for the rare variant, you'll spend around 50 gold. Um, right, the builds we currently saw, the minstrel should be more than enough to clear everything, and the givers a bit harder than this. But don't worry about the specifics. I'll make more guides on the bosses themselves, and that should help you clear the remaining content. Fine, thank you.